throw on to another story on the front of the Australian tomorrow. Labor's cash boost for public servants. Labor's election costings will reveal funding boosts across the Australian public service and more money for the Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade to combat China in the Indo-Pacific, as the ALP and unions launched a coordinated attack on Scott Morrison's plan to reduce the APS spending by $2.7 billion. Anthony Albanese and Treasury spokesman Jim Chalmers on Tuesday refused to say whether they would run higher deficits than the coalition after the Australian revealed that senior Labor figures were preparing for their policy costings to show deficits up to $10 billion greater over the next 4 years. Caro, we saw that story by Ewan Hannon today, the fact that 5,000 public service jobs could be on the chopping block when it comes to a coalition government. But $10 billion over the next 4 years, that's a lot of money.
Yeah, it's a huge amount of money. And the thing is, the only people that this is actually going to impress are the people who are already in those jobs. The rest of Australia is sitting there looking there going, well, we've all taken a haircut on wages or on whatever over the course of the pandemic. Lots of people in the private sector and small business have done it really tough. And those people who have been drawing a public wage have not suffered in a financial sense one iota during the last term. So I think there's going to be quite a few people who are not in the public sector who are going to be a bit miffed about this because they're not sure why, after what they've gone through, they need to stump up a bit more for the public service.
Yeah. Evan, in terms of, I guess, the public service, a lot of people probably just think that it's, suits sitting in office buildings, but it's also things like police, teachers and nurses. And we've seen just here in WA recently where those frontline members have been sitting there going, well, where's our pay rise? We haven't had one and we've basically kept you safe for the past 2 years. How's this landing in Melbourne?
I think this would land very well. And I got to say, finally, some policy difference. It's really good to see. I mean, more money for bureaucrats in Canberra, or a clip over the ear for bureaucrats in Canberra. I can tell you what punters in Middle Australia want, because as Caro said, these people have not suffered any pain during the pandemic, and it's not like this is clipped off the top of our frontline workers. The federal government, the Federal Department of Education does not employ a single teacher. So I think it's fair enough that we tighten our belt and bureaucrats in Canberra either take a pay cut or maybe we make government a little bit smaller. Maybe we don't need people to administer funding for dog parks. Instead, we should be having those kind of grant programs in the first place. But, it's really good to see some policy differentiation. I think it's quite the contrast that Labor wants to give more money for bureaucrats in Canberra, and the Liberal Party, about time, wants to make government smaller.
Yeah, indeed. It's just so nice to see after 5 long weeks, we're finally getting just 1 week of policy difference. Thanks so much, guys.